Good day and welcome to our short explanation and demonstration of how to install Windows Server Update Services, better known as WSUS. So the first thing you need to do is launch the Server Manager, which you can do by clicking Start and up to Server Manager, or if you've left it at default, it will launch automatically. So let's go and install. So the first thing we need to do is add it. So add roles and features. It's a role-based feature, it's not for remote desktop. Which server do you want it to go on? There we go. We're just going to click through this quickly. Windows Server Update Services. Click on that, and you will see it wants to add a whole pile of additional stuff. This is in Server 2016, by the way. Click OK, and next, and next, and at least one network server must be able to download updates. What this is talking about is you can have these in a chain. So you could have a head office that pulls down the updates and then pushes those updates. Well, practically speaking, you could have branch offices that pull their updates from the main office. That's one way to go. For the sake of simplicity, we're going to simply demonstrate a single WSUS server, which is the way most people are going to use it. So let's click Next here. So the three things it's going to install are the Windows internal database connectivity, which is just basically what it's going to do is it's going to use a very stripped down version of SQL to store the configuration. The WSUS services, that's really just the interface you can read here, and the services that need to run in the background. And there's a third option that most people will not want to select, and it's off by default for a reason. That's the SQL Server connectivity. If you don't want to use the Windows internal database, for some reason, you can use full SQL. Microsoft says that while it supports 2016, 2014, so on and so forth, WSUS that is, and it does support Enterprise and Express, it says here that SQL Server Express 2008 R2 has a database limit of 10 gig, and while that's accurate, it's not the full story. The full story is that even Server 2016 SQL Express, I should say, sorry, SQL Server Express 2016 also has a 10 gig limit, also limited to 4 cores. So it's not particularly useful if it just won't work for WSUS. It's insufficient as it says here. But if you wanted to use it, or if you have a full version of SQL, go to town. Great option. Okay, so this is giving us the option to move the data store. I do not want the data store in the default location, which is on the C drive. I want it moved to the F drive. I've already created a folder called WSUS. I don't think you have to, by the way. I believe it creates it for you, but I've already created it. So really the only limitation here is that it's NTFS. Everything else is common sense. So let's go. And this is going to install IIS, which is just fine. Because it's required, and this is all happy. Next, confirmation, yes, do whatever you need to do, install. And let's let this run, and we'll be back in a few minutes once it's done. I'll tell you how long it took. Okay, so that took about 3, maybe 4 minutes, and that's on a box with 8 CPUs and dynamic memory. So no issues. We do not need to restart. Click cancel on that, or sorry, close. Now let's go in and configure it. Okay, so here we just type in update services, there it is. And it's going to run us through an introductory wizard. Let's set it up. Okay, so store the updates locally. Yep, that's where I want them to go. Okay, so that's done. Post installation complete. Yay, so now we keep on moving through the wizard. So it's asking about firewalls and other things. Basically, if you're using third-party tools, you're going to need to open up the firewall on the ports that are relevant. If you're using the Windows firewall, you don't. So there we go. Yes, I always want to participate in these improvement programs. Whether you love Microsoft or hate them, I love them, by the way, but if you don't, the very least you can do is get back to them and tell them what's wrong. So this is a great thing to leave on. There we go. Synchronize with Microsoft Update. Again, if we had an upstream server, we could synchronize with it, but we're not going to. By the way, the port number is 8530 by default. So if you have a third-party firewall on your server, well, you're going to need to open up 8530. Okay, don't have a proxy. This is asking me the really core stuff of what I want to download. So I'm going to go through that now and click Start Connecting. Okay, we'll get back to you when this is a little further along because this is obviously going to take a few more minutes. Okay, that took nearly 10 minutes to get through, so let's keep going through it. Next. Okay, my language is English. You can select other ones, but I'm not concerned. I do not want all products. I have a list of things, but I'm not going to bore you with them right now. I'm simply going to roll through this quickly and select the ones that I know I need before I check my specific list, but let's get through this. So the run times are always important. It's 2013. We have a few 2016s around. Just so you know, there's no point in selecting the Office 365 client unless you're running this off of, unless you're running your WSUS through System Center, which the vast majority of people are not. So if you think this will update your Office 365 clients, it will not. Very terrible graphic or help at the bottom here. Silverlight. Skype for Business, that's fine. SQL, I don't update servers through WSUS. You can, but I don't. Same with Azure. I'm leaving Azure alone. Windows, yeah, it's defaulted. I didn't turn this on. It's defaulted to on. All of the different versions. I'm going to turn these off because I have all of my clients now running I have all of my clients running Windows, there we go, 10. And again, I don't update servers through WSUS. Could, but I just don't. We have an explanation on our site of all of the different Windows 10 items here, so just be aware of that. Let's keep going here. We don't use RT anywhere. This is for Windows 8.1, it says. We don't use 8.1. IE8 we don't care about. 7 I don't care about. This is the general release. That's something you typically want to have on. Windows Embedded 7, no. Defender, there we go. Okay, so 8 I don't care about. And you think, why am I getting rid of them if I don't really care about them? You know, it doesn't cost anything. Well, it actually does. It chews up a lot of space in your system, so I would suggest you do exactly this. I'm not using LTSB, which is long-term servicing branch anywhere, so I'm going to remove that just because I don't need it. Again, we have a full explanation of all of these options on our website. You can search through it and find it. Yeah, the help is just awful for these things, but we have a lot of the information, so you can look through our site. Let's keep going. That's it. Next, categories. I take all of them, including, and this is the big one, updates. So upgrades. That's version 1709 to version 1803, Windows 10, things like that. So let's go. Next, I want to synchronize automatically. I want it to synchronize. I want Windows Defender to update constantly, and I want my machines to look at the WSUS server for those updates. So I don't really care when the first synchronization is, but I'm going to have it synchronize 12 times a day, which is every other hour, and that should keep me pretty solid for updates through Defender. Now, when we're done here, I'll have to set an automatic approval rule for updates of Defender, but we'll get to that in a minute. So we'll click Next, begin the initial sync, that's it. Next, and finish. Okay, so now we're into WSUS, and I'm going to go to Updates and All Updates, and you'll see here it defaults at the top from approval to unapproved and failed or needed. I'm not going to deal with that. I want any status. I'll click refresh here, and boom, they're starting to load up already. Isn't that nice? Shortly, I will start to see computers show up in the All Computers section, and I can assign them. But again, it's not failed or needed. I want any computers. There's probably nothing here yet. And the reason why, actually, there's definitely nothing here yet, and it better stay that way. The reason for that is you need to make registry entries in your systems to, which I'm just going to do through GPO, by the way, through group policy, to point to your WSUS server. If you've come along with me this far, I'll explain it in the notes. The only real thing that we have to do yet is go into options, and you need to know about the server cleanup wizard and run that once in a while. Just run it manually once in a while. But also there's products and classifications, which is just simply that same list we looked at before. And you're going to want to go through here and be very careful with what you're choosing, so that you don't end up with terabytes of useless files on your system. So I'm going to click cancel on that, and I do need to click automatic approvals, and I need to add a new rule, and I need to add it for a specific product, and it's not any product, so I'm going to click on any product here. I'm going to turn off all of these, go down to Defender, Windows Defender, there we go, update, and I want that approval for all updates. You have to call it something, so I'm going to call it Ian Defender updates. By the way, you don't have to put dashes between here. I'm just used to doing it from websites, so let's click OK. Oh, it won't let me save the configuration because we're doing a sync right now. But if you did, we'd be done, other than to create those registry entries. Okay, we'll note this in the system that we're going to write up on www.urtech.ca in the post, but really what you need to know is the registry entries. That's the key, HKey local machine, software, policies, Microsoft Windows, Windows Update. These are the critical updates, the critical entries. That's regsc, and you enter your server with :8430 at the end. And yeah, that's really, other than that, there's some timing issues in here. You can look at this, but you'll find documentation on it. We'll provide more documentation on our blog. We do it through group policy, but you can do it through the registry if you wish. All right, so that's it. If you have any questions, please get a hold of us at www.urtech.ca. Thank you. Bye-bye.